America.
Small, lay a big hit and pass a kick ball. This game is for us all. From Seattle down toward the Keys, this game is you, this game is me. Cats, dogs, and steer, even a tree. This game is America, so sing it loud with me. College football forever. College football forever. Downtown LA, Starkville City. 1 week you're up next, take a dip. Run the rock or let it rip. This game is America. All say, can you sing it with me?
We just stepped on her face with a hot-tail boot across her nose. Whoa, Nelly!
College football forever. College football forever. College football forever. College football forever.
College football is a year-round discussion with these two. Here's JC and Morgan. Mike Morgan of ESPN and JC Shurburtt of 24/7 Sports have you covered. Beginning right now.
It gets me every time. I am that song. You don't know what you created, JC. With that's JC Shurburtt, by the way, thespian, purveyor of Big Spur, and songwriter. There's a number of other things. You're probably like a chef that I don't know about. You're probably running like a food truck somewhere in the better part of the Windy City. But yes, that is JC Shurburtt's song and creation. And that thing has been in my head for literally 3 weeks, and I love every minute of it. I'm good with that.
It is
very catchy.
I mean, it's a good thing. Yeah, I'm pretty decent with words. Again, I can't play music, so the ability to generate a song with technology now has helped me be pretty creative with things. So it's all coming out of me now. But well, I think we needed a theme song. As much as we talk about TV and nostalgia and the 80s and 90s, and I mean, we needed our own "I'll Be There for You" like Friends.
Much better than that.
Much better
than that. And the video is outstanding. Again, I know a lot of you are set in your ways. I hear it all the time because, and let me just explain this real quick. Let a little housekeeping before we just dive right in. There are times where our producer, who does an outstanding job, and he's been battling a lot because he's been in the eye of Helene in a lot of ways. And so he's been without internet. He's been without power. But regardless, he's responsible for more than just one show here on the mighty Chief Sports Network. So a lot of times I'll hear, hey, the show is not on Spotify yet. It's not on iTunes yet. And there's a reason for that. It's always on YouTube first because we record this live, usually on Monday mornings. This week it's on a Tuesday. So that's always going to be there first. But for those of you that are set in your ways, like, I don't want to watch it, I just want to listen to it. Well, number one, you don't have to look at YouTube. You just ignore what the sites. But I get it. We're creatures of habit. Sometimes it does take an extra day to get it down on the other formats. But with that being said, if you don't want to see our faces, I understand. But if you want to just catch a really cool montage of college football in the open, tune into that on YouTube. If for no other reason, it's really well done. And the great thing is we can have fun with that and just change it up every now and then. There's always plenty of great.
I'll have a part 2.
Yeah, part 2
next season.
You see my background today. Well, you know what that is, right?
The band is on the field.
Band is on the field. 82 wow. Stanford Cal. Cal, who squandered a game to Miami. More on that later. But I always try to find something football related for the background. And I've been doing a lot of stadiums in the past and movies in the past about football. Today I chose A Moment in Time, which was the Stanford Cal game back in 1982.
I want to say something about your topic you were just talking about, though, real quick.
Sure.
I've been working with Mad Dog on a better way to get, because the problem kind of just, it doesn't really lie in like the workload with getting it up as far as like, what you actually have to do. It's the programs we've been using. So I with his internet being out, I had to do for all shows the uploads, and depending on how quick I'm allowed to download it from YouTube, which you can do when you own the channel, I've streamlined the process a little bit. So like last week was a day. I don't anticipate that being the case today, as long as YouTube cooperates. And because sometimes with the shows other than the 3-hour one we do on the network, for some reason it takes it a while to allow me to download it, but I think we do have a better way to get it on Spotify a little quicker. I want to under promise and over deliver.
Right.
So I'm glad you said what you said, but I want everybody to know we're aware of it, and it's not, it's because we kind of do it through 24/7 Sports and distribute it that way to our podcasting channels. They use something called Megaphone. We're at the mercy of Megaphone sometimes. And then getting the audio separated from the video is something we've been working on. So we'll be better with that, hopefully, this week, maybe next week. But like I said, with this particular show, I haven't tested the stopwatch on it yet.
Right.
But we've got it a little bit better. So anyway,
I'm thankful for everything how long away we've come from two guys doing it on a Skype 8 years ago, and just kind of weaving our way into modern technology and into what we have now, where you folks can enjoy it on every platform imaginable, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, iTunes, Google Play, and of course Spotify. So stay tuned. Technology is on our side. We'll just continue to get bigger and better. And we appreciate everybody tuning in nationwide. Always a reminder as well, this is a national show. We appreciate a couple of very loyal fan bases that always flood the chat box on YouTube. But we don't cover one or two specific programs on this. It's more of a treetops discussion and a lot of things to get to. And I need today, JC, I need the wholesomeness that is college football to get my mind off of two things. Number one, what's going on in the world of politics, and one hurricane that has already hit and caused so much heartache for people that quite honestly deserve to be treated much better. And I'll leave it at that because I could do a whole show on this. It's disgraceful the way that has been handled. And now, as you know, I have a number of friends really in both areas, the Carolinas and Florida. If I were to do like a survey of who are my best quote unquote friends, acquaintances, coworkers, former coworkers, I mean, they are stacked up in the Carolinas and in Florida and in Georgia, and just happens to be where those are the most affected areas. And Florida, thoughts and prayers already to the people, particularly on the West Coast, that are going to get hammered by a Cat 5 here in the next 24 hours or so. So there's that. And then on a lighter note, but a darker note as well at the same time, I don't know about you, JC, but every now and then, I don't watch a lot of regular TV. I couldn't even tell you what is on like CBS tonight or NBC or what have you. I don't know. I don't watch regular TV. I don't watch reality shows unless it's Last Chance U. Hint, hint. But I do like so many people now. I stream shows, and I need a shower because I have been watching 3 shows that are just so utterly filthy, in so many ways. In no particular order, this is what I've been watching when I haven't been fixated on college football. The Aaron Hernandez doc, if you want to call it a doc, it's just trash, but I can't look away. It is just a classic case of it's trashy, and there's a lot of just hearsay, like I don't know how much is truly fact-checked. Like, we know Aaron Hernandez. I've seen a number of docs on him. Very troubled individual, to say the least. But, like the guy playing Urban Meyer, I can't help but look at it and go, it's pretty freaking funny. Like, they're portraying Urban as best they can. The guy playing Bill Belichick on draft day, just in there mumbling, our culture, we'll fix them. But it's a little disturbing, to say the least. Then I've also watched the entire Vince McMahon WWEF, whatever it is now. And, he's a head case and not exactly a good dude. Brilliant. What he created, and a terrific marketer. There's no denying that. But I would think it's safe to say not a great person. And then to top it off, I finished the Menendez brothers documentary. So I need to just clear my head of all of that garbage. It's my fault. I mean, I'm watching it. I know I'm not alone. And they're all captivating in their own way. So I need to get right into some wholesome college football talk. I need Vanderbilt to save us. I need a Vanderbilt knocking off a number 1 Alabama to clear my head of that gunk and just follow on the wholesomeness that is college football and why we love it.
Absolutely. I've started watching Bad Monkey on Apple TV.
That's next on my list with Vince Vaughn, right?
Dude, you're gonna love it. It is one of the best shows I've ever seen. Same guy that did Scrubs. Wow. He's a pretty talented guy, and things are actually funny. And then Vince Vaughn is like Vince Vaughn, full of one-liners, but it's not just like, oh, there's Vince Vaughn, he's doing his thing. His character, they built a character based on kind of some things Vince Vaughn does. Like the whole thing about his character is he's a dude, but he never shuts up. He just keeps talking. So everybody's like, you never shut up, whatever. It's fantastic. It's casted good. There's plot twists. It is unbelievable. And Bad Monkey, it is kind of a comedy. It's a detective comedy. I mean, it's more funny than it's dark. I started watching Penguin, and I'll say this: I didn't really like the whole long version of Batman with the dude from Twilight. It just drug for me or whatever. But I'm not a big comics guy. I mean, you ask me who the best Batman was, I'm always going to say Michael Keaton. I'm always going to say the best Joker was Jack Nicholson, though. Heath Ledger was probably just acting wise the best one. I do think that Joaquin Phoenix may give him a run for his money with that. I like that movie Joker, but this is kind of maybe a villain origin kind of deal that's based on it's just the same universe as the movie, same set, same actors. Colin Farrell as the Penguin, or Oswald Copperpot, I think was his name, is fantastic. I mean, you don't even know it's Colin Farrell. I mean, he's got makeup on and stuff, but it is a tremendous piece of acting, and I've actually liked it and gotten into it. So that's what's on my TV menu. Cobblepot sorry, not copper pot, cobble pot.
Cobble
Phil
pot.
helped me. Phil threw me a lifeline there.
There, Phil would know. All right, so 5 of the top 11 teams in the AP poll lost on Saturday. Miami would have made it 6. Cal gift wrapped them the game to make it just 5. But it was a whirlwind day, and obviously was highlighted by Vandy's first ever win against a number 1 team in the history of Vanderbilt football. Just a couple other numbers to back that up. AP number 1 teams before Vandy's triumph over the Tide on a late Saturday night in the Music City. AP number 1 teams had gone 134-1 against unranked opponents since Oregon State knocked off Southern Cal back in 2008. I remember exactly where I was when I watched that. That was a Thursday night, wasn't it? I believe. And I was at a sports bar that night. And that was an Oregon State team, by the way, that won 9 games and finished in the AP top 25. They just happened to be unranked at the time. I believe Jaquiz Rogers was the stud running back that they had. He eventually played for the Falcons. And they won 10 games the year before that. Like, Oregon State was pretty legit. So this game, Vanderbilt doing what it did, following the epic clash and victory against Georgia, this is in a different category. This is what happened is on Saturday in heralded Vanderbilt Commodore Stadium, where typically the opponents make up the majority of the fan bases. I know that's a sensitive subject for some Vanderbilt fans. You have to admit it's 100% true. Been there a number of times. I can't remember an SEC game, at least. Middle Tennessee State, yeah, it's going to be more anchor down. But an SEC game, SEC fans love going to Nashville. And they love gobbling up tickets and taking up the majority of that stadium. And that was the case, too. Our boots on the ground reported it was about 75% Crimson. And yet, Vanderbilt won. Vanderbilt was 0-60 all-time against AP top 5 opponents. The last time Vanderbilt scored more than 30 points in a win over Alabama, how about 1956 when they beat the Tide 32-7 in Mobile? That Alabama squad went 2-7. This Alabama squad is likely making the college football playoff. Vanderbilt had time of possession 41 minutes. They went 12 for 18 on third down. And Diego Pavia, talk about 15 minutes of fame. It's been a whole week of fame. We've talked about Diego Pavia on this show a number of times. So if you listen to this show, there's a number of things that we talk about. For example, if you listen to this show, you already knew who Ashton Genty was because we've been talking about him since July. So sometimes we tend to be a little bit ahead of the curve. But JC, that is one of the most shocking things. You and I have been following this sport since we were knee-high to a grasshopper. One of the most shocking things that we've ever seen.
Oh, yeah. Tremendous. I mean, look, I'll admit I've been talking about the kill zone since the
Your
summer.
boy.
But, man, a lot of that's like a little tongue-in-cheek. It's fun to say the kill zone. And it's Vandy and I mean, even Nick Saban poked fun at them. I mean, and he's the one that yelled at his players not to do the horns down after the game. That's very un-Nick. By the way, Paul Feinbaum doesn't need to blame Nick Saban for that, and doesn't need to go after Kalen. I know everybody in Alabama's embarrassed, but we're in a new era of college football. All right, you can't sit there. I've said this too, and I believe I'm right about this. You can't assume. Cannot assume in this sport anymore. The rosters are too transitional. The evaluations of those rosters suck. You can't just rely on recruiting rankings anymore because half those guys are gone and you got a new batch of them in most places. It's just, you just don't know. And then on top of that, any given Saturday, especially the SEC, you got good coaches, but I mean, SEC isn't the only place you had an upset. Southern Cal goes down to the Golden Gophers in Minneapolis. Row the boat, right? A team that had no offense before they played them. I mean, there's been other upsets. It's just unpredictable these days. And so it's tough to assume. You can analyze and say what you may think, but there were a lot of bold hot takes this offseason about a lot of teams, that just, you got to be careful. I think we all got to be very cautious, with that. Did I expect Vanderbilt to beat Alabama? No, I didn't. But Alabama's defense is on 6 quarters now of probably the worst football they've played since before Saban got there, in my opinion. So 42 minutes time of possession will do that. And I've got more on that in the JC 5. But no, I didn't expect that. And I didn't expect Arkansas to beat Tennessee either.
Me neither. That's another miss.
I mean, as much as I like Arkansas, I just, but anyway, it was a crazy weekend. It's why we love it, why we hate it. I mean, it's like college football. You're drunk, go home.
Well, this is what college football needs more of. And I swear, and I don't have empirical data to back this up off the top of my head. We used to have more of these type of weekends. We used to have these upset Saturdays, chaotic Saturdays. They would almost always happen in November, not early October, because something would happen in early November where really good teams would kind of start believing all the hype, and teams that everybody just counted out would still be all in. And that's where you would see. So it would be like a November 5th where it would be all these top 10, top 20 teams going down. I feel like we've lost a lot of that. I feel like the rich has been getting richer, and it's harder and harder to see these massive upsets. It just feels like they're down. Maybe I'm wrong on that. That's just the gut feeling I have. And of course, as we've talked about a number of times with the cabal, it's the same teams competing more or less. TCU, the notable exception before they got thumped by Georgia, the same teams competing in a playoff. Now the 12-team playoff, and again, if you're so dug in on that you continually try to diminish moments like this. Well, Alabama's still going to make the playoff. Alabama still could have made a playoff in a 14 playoff. And think of all the teams that are still alive. Think of all the meaningful games we're going to have in November. And then the playoff itself, of course, is going to be unlike anything we've ever seen in postseason college football. It's going to be awesome. So just embrace it. Sometimes it's okay to admit when you're wrong. Sometimes it's okay to just admit that your hot take might be a little bit off. It's going to be fantastic. But I think college football needs more weekends like this. Now, it sucks if it's your team. Alabama fans are like, yeah, I don't really need this in my life. I got it. I understand. Tennessee fans are not exactly enjoying upset Saturday in early October. But the good news is your season is not completely derailed like it would have been back in, say, the BCS days. You still have a chance at big prizes at the end of the year. And I'm thankful to still have some weekends like this because it feels like it's diminished over the last few years.
Yeah, I think as we continue to go through the portal era and the NIL era and the opt-out era, and hopefully this lawsuit that got settled will help some of that. But look, you're still giving college kids a bunch of money, right? You're still in an era that it'll never change in our lifetime, where you can't say don't read the paper and let's focus. Yeah, I mean, this week, because everybody, you don't have to read the paper. It's on your phone. You're still going to text with your girlfriend. You've got your headlines popping up all the time. So you can't insulate these college kids from the hype, the hot takes, everybody's on social media. And mentally, that's the one, that's why I will say this about Nick Saban, that he stressed and fussed and was fussy and just, that was the part of the game he was a master at, keeping his team motivated. They would lose. It's hard to go undefeated. They would lose games, but then they would bounce back, wouldn't they? Mm-hmm. They would win, and then they have a team that you go, they better show up next week and not take them lightly. They'd show up and stomp a mud hole in somebody because he'd find a way to motivate them. That's hard. Nick Saban's made the greatest coach of all time, so that's fine for him. Not every coach, not most coaches aren't like that. Most coaches aren't the masters of Zen like he is. By the way, shout out to Home Depot. I love the Zen Garden commercial with Coach Saban. And so it's hard because these are not only still college kids, they're college kids driving Maseratis and Ferraris in a lot of cases. And then the rest of the guys are wondering why they can't drive a Maserati like this other guy. And it's not that they're bad kids or entitled or anything like that. It's just human nature when you're 17, 18, 19, 20 years old. That's just, man, if I'd have been given that much money when I was in college, number one, there'd have been a party at Shurb Nation every night of the week with a different theme. I'm talking ice sculptures and all that. Anyway. But anyway.
Swag bags at the door.
Yeah. I would just not like Diddy's parties, okay? I wouldn't have
no.
not like Diddy's party.
You would have kept the body oil back.
There's no
on
baby
the shelf.
oil. Yeah. I love Rodney Karen is one of my favorite comics. I'd love for him to he used the word baby oil in one of his slides. I'd love for him to be like, Diddy had 1,000 tubes of baby oil. I just want to hear that. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Anyway,
we can make that happen. I'll make a phone call.
I'm not saying they're entitled. I'm not like old man yells at cloud. This generation doesn't have any appreciation and all that. That's not it. I'm just saying it is a fact of life that people, young people that are 17 to 20, myself included, when I was that age, don't know Shinola about Shinola. And you're handing them all this money and telling them there's absolutely zero consequence to doing anything you want now for the player. And with the rules set up like they are, there's no consequence. Well, I can transfer anytime I want. I could just bail on my teammates if things aren't going well. I'm going to get paid. I can go to 16 different schools. I can take 1 million official visits and recruiting. So, all right. So where does the reality start to set in? And the reality is it's hard to play this sport. It is hard to be good at this sport. It's hard to be consistent in this sport. That's the hardest thing of them all. So when you got a group like that, man, that's tough. Now, I don't feel sorry for coaches because their salaries have gone through the roof.
Paid handsomely.
I mean, it's really hard. I feel bad for some of the assistants that are on year-to-year contracts and don't have generational wealth, but most of your FBS level guy or Power 4 level guys, they don't, their grandkids aren't going to have to work. So, hey, to whom much is given, much is expected, figure it out. But it's very hard, I think. And I think it's because of all that. It's just the incessant hype that we put into it. And I think part of that's because we love it. You know, we meaning the media and the experts and the fans and all that. We love it. So we're passionate, but there's some things that are going to be very challenging, which will lead to more weekends like we had.
I hope so. That's the one. If that's the one good thing we can take from all that, I'm in. Number 4 Tennessee loses to Arkansas. You mentioned that one. Number 9 Missouri blown out by A&M. Missouri was what I thought they were. It's a good team. It's not a great team. I've said that all season. I thought they would take a step back, and I think that's pretty clear that they're not quite what they were on defense. Number 10 Michigan fell to Washington. Michigan is allergic to the forward pass right now. They don't have a quarterback. That's a problem. It's a shame because they're loaded everywhere else. And number 11, Southern Cal loses to the row your boat Minnesota Golden Gophers in the final minute. And as I mentioned, Miami was down like 25 points late in that game and found a way to win. So it was one of those crazy Saturdays in college football. The JC5 is never crazy. It's enlightening. It's a morale booster when at a time where we could all use one. So we look forward to that after a quick timeout. And again, it's JC and Morgan presented by Site Pro Rentals. When renting equipment, important to have local, easy to do business with friends in the industries who carry only the newest equipment and create efficiency for you and your project job site. If you want to do work with those type of folks and you're ready for better equipment rental, call our friends at Site Pro, 972-RENT-NOW, 972-736-8669. JC and Morgan rolls on with the JC5 right after this.
Morning, Carl. Usual?
Yeah.
Your oldest was in here the other day. Said the two of you took a trip down to my neck of the woods. How'd that go?
You might as well give me one of those Carolina cards while you're at it.
I knew I liked that one.
Yeah.
There you go, my friend.
Thanks.
Hey, Carl, Congratulations.
See you tomorrow, Freddie.
You bet.
Hey, folks, want to tell you about our friends at Titan Construction Group really quick. They're a mid-Atlantic-based general contractor, specializes in retail, restaurant, and office construction. TCG strives to separate itself from other general contractors by adding value every step of the process. From project budgeting to estimation, value engineering to construction, they focus on those relationships and not the transaction. Titan builds partnerships one project at a time. Among their clients are Starbucks, Crumble Cookie, Blake Pizza, Home Goods, 15 plus years experience, based in Midlothian, Virginia, and contracted in Virginia, West Virginia, North Carolina, and South Carolina. So get on their website, titancginc.com. That's titancginc.com. Get in touch with Brad if you're in need of a general contractor that focuses on going above and beyond for their clients. That's Titan Construction Group, a proud sponsor of the JC and Morgan podcast.
Listen up. This is for construction professionals, contractors, facility managers, or do-it-yourself homeowners. SitePro Rentals is ready to equip your upcoming project. We rent construction equipment for any size job. Boom and scissor lifts, telehandlers, skid steers, excavators, air compressors, generators, even small tools and equipment. SitePro has you covered. If you are ready for better equipment rental, call SitePro and rent from the local, friendly, easy to do business with equipment professionals. Call 972-RENT-NOW. That's 972-736-8669 to rent the newest equipment in the Atlanta market. Call 972-RENT-NOW or visit siteprorentals.com.
We're passionate about making sure that the Nest and Wild mattress is the best it can be. Made well and made right. Right here in Tupelo, Mississippi. So how can we do all that? Work. Hard work. And that means something. The Nest and Wild mattress is a movement. It's a pride in where you come from and where you're going. So get comfortable, because this movement is just beginning.
It will be the most happy group of administrators in Nashville when Vanderbilt pays their $100,000 fine for storming the field on Saturday after the win against Alabama. And they'll make some of that money back up when they sell some items at an auction. Pieces of a goalpost, 4-inch goes for $1,000. The 8-inch goes for $4,000. A personalized Clark League autographed game helmet, $2,830. Game balls, $500 and $1,000. And the end zone game pylons. Who wouldn't want a pylon in their living room? Just in case, things get a little bit fun. $500. So when you add all that up, that'll pay for the $100,000 and more. You could take that $100,000 check, frame it, maybe put it at the P.F. Chang's in walking distance from that stadium that I've eaten at a number of times.
I ate there once with Mike
the
Morgan.
Mongolian beef, JC. I'm telling you.
I ate there once. It was with you. I know you probably don't remember, given all your times you've been to that delicious P.F. Chang's. But yeah, it was one time. Gosh, first time I lived in Nashville, or maybe the second.
Okay, no, I know what you. Yes,
yeah, I came up there and met you.
That's right.
You had a basketball game. It was winter. I remember it was cold and rainy, which it normally
is in the wintertime in Nashville. Yeah. You got that. You've got the Holiday Inn Hotel with the little sports bar in there. Which I think they still do the coaches shows from there. It's a beautiful campus, and again, unless you were an Alabama fan, it was amazing how many people were watching that game, and this is not really going to happen, is it? This is a cute story, but it's not really going to happen. And then it did, and obviously a historic win. These are the current conference leaders right now. Now, this is so premature and early, but again, the conference champions of the Power Four are all going to the playoff. Clemson's 3-0 in the ACC. Miami, of course, is also undefeated, but they're not 3-0. I guess they're 2-0. Both those teams are clearly on a collision course to meet in Charlotte. Big 12, Texas Tech is 3-0. The Red Raiders right now leading that conference. The Big 10, again, by virtue of playing an extra game, Indiana is 3-0. So technically speaking, they're leading the Big 10. Signetti, unbelievable job. We did a deep dive on him last week. SEC A&M 3-0. The American Army and Navy could meet for the American Conference Championship, then meet again a week later in the Army-Navy game. Army could be the G5 team for that matter. That will get an automatic bid to the playoff. Conference USA, Liberty and Sam Houston are 2-0. MAC has a 7-way tie at 1-0. Mountain West, San Jose State is 2-0. Just a few numbers to throw at you as we get ready for the JC5.
It's time for the top topics in the sport. We bring the JC5. Number 1.
All right. You followed Auburn for a long time, just like every other SEC program. Remember Travis Williams played the linebacker there?
Absolutely.
He is now the DC at Arkansas. And this is what I think has made, because we watched Arkansas give up a bunch of points to Oklahoma State and blow that lead. And, but you look at their defense the last few weeks. A&M, they lost, but lost 21-17. Tennessee did not really go up and down the field on them at all. You don't really wouldn't cluster Arkansas in, even through a couple of games this year with the best defensive teams in the league, yet they perform. Thoughts about Travis Williams, and is it time to kind of give him his due? He's kind of did the co-coordinator thing, and then he was at UCF with Malzahn, and then they gave up a bunch of points last year. But your thoughts on the job that Arkansas has done? Because we know about Petrino, we know about the offense. We know Pittman's an offensive line guy, but that defense, man, I think they're really coming into their own. Your thoughts?
Travis Williams, 41 years old, born in Columbia. Do you know that?
Yeah, went to Spring Valley High School. That was not offered by any of the in-state schools.
Okay. No, I mean, he's done a great job. There's no doubt about that. Former linebacker, Youngstown State, going back. And really, Arkansas, throughout the years, even when Petrino was there, the problem was never scoring. The problem was they haven't had a nasty defense. There's been like 1 year. Like, you talk to people in Arkansas, and I remember asking this last year when I was there to do a game, like, when's the last time Arkansas had a dominating defense? And I can't remember the year off the top of my head, but they had like one. Everybody's got that outlier. But for the most part, Arkansas has not been a great defense. They have found ways to score points. They have had some offenses going back to, goodness, I mean, even before Petrino. The Darren McFadden's one of the best SEC running backs I've ever seen, and I've seen some good ones. And he had Felix Jones, was another great back. They've had quarterbacks.
Matt Jones was good.
Clint Sterner,
Ryan Mallett was really good for them.
First round pick. They've had some immensely talented players on offense, but defensively, Steve Atwater is not walking through that door. They haven't had a lot of great defensive players and a lot of great defenses over the years. So I agree. That's a great story that's kind of been flying under the radar nationally. Is that here's this defense that is actually holding up and is playing well, and they're playing complementary football, which you would expect with a Sam Pittman type coach. And yeah, I think Travis Williams' name certainly is circulating as we speak, because I know it's a great story, and I know that Arkansas has clearly exceeded expectations. I'm still not 100% convinced that the moment things go south, that the big money folks over there aren't going to turn on Sam Pittman. I don't know how long that is going to. The good vibes are going to stay. Obviously, they're riding high right now with a win over Tennessee, but Arkansas expectations over there, it's not that far removed where they won a national title, and they think that with all that money, just look at how they got Cal to come there with It's amazing what fried chicken can do for a basketball program, Mr. Tyson. They believe that they should be right up there at the top in the SEC. So it'll be interesting to see. But yes, good point. Travis Williams certainly enhancing his stock.
Number 2.
Sticking with coaching and coaches whose last name begin with W-I-N-L, how good of a coach is Justin Wilcox from Cal, man?
Really
I mean, of the major West Coast jobs, number one, Cal, and I'm talking Stanford, Cal, UCLA, Southern Cal. Cal cares the least about football. They support football the least administration-wise. There's nothing against their fans because the fans and students showed out for game day this weekend.
They did.
So, tip of the cap to those the football fans. But institutionally, they don't care as much as Stanford. Stanford's has a better history. The two LA schools. It's been really rough. They were not invited to the ball until the Notre Dame threw them a lifeline and got them in the ACC. They hadn't had very many winning seasons, but lo and behold, look at Cal. I mean, I know they lost. I know they blew the lead, but man, that wasn't a program you look at and go, well, they're not well coached. They don't care and all that. And this guy, I remember back when he was at Tennessee. It's kind of funny because he and Dave Clawson both were assistants at Tennessee. And when they left, they were like, good riddance. And they both done some good things. I know Wake's bad this year, but they both done some good things in a place that's hard to win. And he's just been at Cal, just grinding. And, man, I don't know that the ACC isn't a lifeline for them. But I do think that I do think, he deserves some credit. I don't think it's a great job. Could he be in line for something bigger? I don't know. I mean, if he goes 6-6, 7-5 this year, having a zigzag across the country at Cal, I think that's worthy. But most of the time, people, they just want to go hire the guy that's won 10 games or wherever. Your thoughts on the job he's done at the University of California, Berkeley?
Hey, I did a deep dive on him recently. We're shining some light on some good folks. Former defensive back at Oregon back in the late 90s. I didn't know that until I put on the swim trunks, the goggles, and the skull cap, and went deep into the ocean in my shark tank. Shark go in the water, tank go in the water, our shark. It was enlightening to see this guy's been good at a lot of different places. Those are the kind of things I look at. There's a lot of coaches that find success in one spot, either as an assistant or a head coach at a lower level, and then they get crowned too early. I look for guys that everywhere they've gone, they've improved the area that they're there to coach. And Justin Wilcox fits that bill. He's 47, I believe. So he's the right age. Yeah. Now they believe it or not, Cal pays. He's making about 4.5. So he's doing okay. And I would imagine if they continue to have the season they have, although they completely blew the Miami game, he'll get G'd up and maybe be over 5. But yeah, I would think he'd be a strong candidate. And for those that say, well, he's just a West Coast guy, he was at Tennessee for 2 years. So he does have a little bit of background in the SEC, if you will. But yeah, I think Wilcox is a guy, if he wasn't at Cal, would probably be getting a lot more light shined on him.
Number 3.
All right, so Tom Luganbill pointed this out. I think about one of the probably UCLA, maybe Southern Cal. Maybe he's talking Southern Cal. I don't know. He mentioned the Trojans going into a line of scrimmage league. Well, they've made 2 trips into places that the offensive, especially line of scrimmage matters, and they have lost both games. Now, the Michigan game, they are the defending champs. It is Michigan. It is the big house. Trojans certainly had their chances in that one. But, man, Minnesota, I saw somebody who's probably an idiot. I don't remember exactly who wrote it, but probably not, it kind of made me mad when I read. He had a hot seat list, and he had PJ Fleck on it. He's like, they're just not a very exciting football team. Well, they just beat the Trojans at home, and they were 3 points away from winning at the big house. So I think Minnesota's going to be fine, okay? losing to North Carolina right now, that looks like a bad loss in the beginning. Their offense is not anything to write home about. They have lost some coordinators. But, man, oh, man, should we worry if we care at all about the Trojans, which I don't know. I love that program. I don't know if I care about the Lincoln Riley Trojans. I don't know if I care about a Big Ten Trojans team. But if we care about the program, is it time to worry? Because that's two sock you in the face teams they've gone and played, and they've lost both.
Do you know what Lincoln Riley's record is over the last 12 games? 5-7. 5-7. That's the same record of Billy Napier, Sam Pittman, Sonny Dykes, and Hugh Freeze, also 5-7 in the last 12 games. But the difference is Lincoln Riley was given the keys to a Lambeau, at least we were told. He was given all types of financial advantages, and this was going to return to Pete Carroll glory. The Trojan horse was coming in, and the offensive genius that is Lincoln Riley was going to turn that sucker around. And the hell with Oklahoma. I got something better on the West Coast. It's 5-7 in his last 12 games. It's not working. It's not working.
I'll just Clay Helton was 13-6.
Yeah,
last 19, and they fired him after one start in 2021. But yeah, I mean, look, sometimes you go make the caged animal higher, and
that was a caged animal higher.
It was a caged animal higher, and sometimes it doesn't work out. I mean, I've always had some questions about Lincoln Riley, just because in the Big 12 specifically, that's not a line of scrimmage league. That is a finesse. Everybody's in the spread. It's because they recruit so much out of the state of Texas. Texas has been doing 7-on-7, 5 wide spread for years in the high school ranks, and that's where they go get players. That's why the Big Ten teams have good offensive linemen, because that's their area, And so I noticed, he's pretty good against the Big 12. Sometimes he'd lose some games to like Iowa State and teams like that. But then when he got in the playoff, he just got destroyed. And Oklahoma had NFL guys. But it wasn't just their defense. They couldn't move it on teams. And so you always kind of got a question about that. But, man, I thought at Southern Cal, even going into the Big Ten with the level of players they can get, because Oklahoma always gets elite players, right? But SC is that next level where you can actually go get a team that makes Oklahoma look bad. It's just LA's full of players. It's full of speed. You got speed, skill. And there isn't enough linemen in California and the places you go recruit. And now you can recruit in the Midwest because you're in the Big Ten to where there's really no excuse. Now it happened quick, so maybe they don't have enough time to develop all those linemen. But, man, oh, man, they've struggled. And I don't know that they're going to pull the plug on him, Mike. But I hear through the grapevine sometimes he kind of wants to look at the NFL. As one of those offensive guys, hey, maybe my Chip Kelly, Bobby Petrino, Steve Spurrier, whoever, see my offense works at that level. So I don't know what's going to happen. So
I could see him getting maybe a coordinator job. I don't know if his stock is high enough where the NFL comes calling to make him a head coach right now.
Keep in mind, they hired Cliff Kingsbury.
Well, I know, but how did that work out?
I know. Well, no, but the NFL to me takes like 5 years, 10 years to learn lessons. So now, like in NFL, hire the hot young offensive coach, and you got a slew of them, and half of them can't coach dead in a movie. I mean, it's just like so. Maybe that's the case. Maybe that time has passed. I don't know, but
Coach Bro Kingsbury.
Bro.
I'm just thinking like sitting in his office when he was at Tech, and I'm just looking at him, and he's just like, he's a bro. Like he's, I don't think he's head coaching material, but he's dialing up plays right now in the NFL and doing a pretty damn good job at it. Like that's where I could see Lincoln Riley. Lincoln, I could see possibly being an OC in the NFL, but I don't know if NFL owners are going to rush to hire Lincoln Riley, especially again He's 5-7 in his last 12 games. Not at Texas Tech, at Southern Cal. I don't know. But I don't know. More importantly, to this discussion, I don't know if he turns it around. You know, you had the number 1 pick in the draft at quarterback last year. The Moss kid is definitely he's got major talent this year. You have one of the best wide receivers in college football. You're buying up linemen. You're what's the excuse? I don't know. Where does it all turn to? How much more time do you need if you're Lincoln Riley to at least be good? Not national championships, but just good. I'm not even sure if they're good.
Number 4.
All right, got to channel Red Grange and Dick Butkus here.
The Galloping Ghost.
All right, so if Illinois beats Michigan this weekend, and I'm confident they will, and you mentioned Michigan, is it time to start taking the Illini seriously? I know they lost to Penn State. That was a heck of a game. They lost at the end, but could we see Illinois sneak in as maybe that number 2 team in the Big Ten? Maybe. I don't know. You tell me. What do you think about the Illini?
First off, I want to claim regional bias on this topic. Now that you are Mr. Illinois, you have managed to get a Brett Bielema topic in the heralded and coveted JC5. I'm a fan of Brett Bielema. I think Brett Bielema, I don't want to say he got a raw deal at Arkansas, but Brett Bielema did some good things at Arkansas before it went south. Brett Bielema certainly did good things at Wisconsin. Look at where Wisconsin is right now. They probably would gladly take Brett Bielema back. I don't consider them a serious contender to win the Big Ten, but I think they're a great story because for years they have been irrelevant. You had the one Ron Zook year, right, where they went to a BCS bowl game. What was that guy? It was Juice Wells. Was that the kid at quarterback that year?
Nah, Juice Wells plays for Ole Miss now, Mike. Juice Williams.
Not Juice Wells. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Juice Williams was from
Juice Williams. I got my juices wrong.
Yeah, Juice
It
Williams
could have been
was
worse. I could have called him OJ and had him become a double murderer. So I got to get my juices straight. But yeah, so they had an NFL wideout, Aurelius Ben, maybe, I can't remember. Anyway, other than that one outlier, Illinois has been kind of a train wreck, honestly. So kudos to Brett Bielema. Brett Bielema, he's not for everybody. His offense is not for everybody, but Brett Bielema deserved another chance. And he certainly has done good work there in Champaign-Urbana.
Absolutely. And they, just for clarification, that Michigan game's in 2 weeks. They have the mighty Purdue Boilermakers, who are
Kenny.
Not only do they have the most
Purdue
terrifying
Kenny.
mascot in all of college football, they are not very good. Oh, so Purdue Kenny, I felt for you, man, because Wisconsin, that's that underachieving, like, what are you doing? Wisconsin team beat them 52-6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tough break.
Times are hard. Jeff Brom, where have you gone?
Yeah.
Jeff Brom went home. That's kind of sad country song. Jeff Brom went home.
I could see that. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know how long Jeff Brom is going to stay at home either. Just saying, possibility. He could realize that Louisville has its caps, if you will. Anyway, that's a whole other story. Another. What are we on? 5.
Number 5.
Mike dropping the nug there.
No, it's just I can see him. Don't think the whole it's his alma mater, so he would never leave. I don't buy into that. All these coaches are out for their best possible job and situation, and I'm not sure if Louisville is it for Jeff Brom.
If Florida opens, that's the type of guy. That's
if
the type
Lane
of
said
guy.
no, yes.
Yeah,
they are all. I mean, they are beyond 100% on Lane. I don't even know if they have a plan B if they don't get Lane. But Brom is the kind of guy that would fit what they're looking for. Yeah, but that's not the only. I mean, there's other people that would go after Brom if they thought they could get him. And Louisville, some people look at that job as it's a good, not great job. You can take it only so far before you just you just hit a little bit of a wall.
I think
Anyway.
you get to the playoff there, especially one of those years where the Clemson's 8-4 and Florida State's not in the ACC. If Pitt can win the ACC, but by the way, shout out to Pat Narduzzi.
Shout out to Narduzzi.
But but I'm with you. Are there jobs with higher ceilings than Louisville? Absolutely.
Papa John ain't walking through that door. They kicked him to the curb.
Yeah, Shaq owns a lot of Papa Johns now.
Shaq is Mr. Papa John. Shaq John.
All right, number 5. All right, Mike. So you've said this a couple of times, and you mean it, and I agree with you. Offense rules the day in college football these days. I mean, it's just a fact.
Great offense trumps great defense.
I think for the rule, it used to not be that way. I think maybe around 2011-ish, 12-ish.
Yep.
You'd have a lot of teams that were going up and down the field in the Big 12, like I mentioned, and then they'd run into a good defense, and it was over. Now, you still can beat up on a team that scores a bunch against bad defenses if you've got a good defense, but it's hard. But here's my question for you, because here's interesting. We've had 3 upsets in the SEC the last 2 weeks, right? Massive ones. Here's the time of possession. Kentucky, 39 minutes, Ole Miss 20. Vanderbilt, 42 minutes, Alabama, 17. Arkansas, 35 minutes, Tennessee, 24. With all this offense these days, are teams going to be able to ugly the game, make the game more low scoring by using their offense to play defense in this world where a lot of teams for a long time, they're like to go fast?
Yeah. I mean, this is what when we talk about, JC's taking care of Red there. That's the barking dog you hear in the background. Beautiful, beautiful animal. This is what we talk about when we talk about complementary football. You hear coaches talk about complementary football. That doesn't mean that they're saying that, they're just going to be ultra conservative on offense and try to muck up the game and just win on defense. What it means is that it's really hard to win a game like Alabama. Again, when your opponent has the ball 41 out of 60 possible minutes, it's really hard to win the game. So complementary football says we can't let that happen. We've got to maintain longer possessions. We've got to run the ball more. We've got to keep them off the field more. That's complementary football. It's not saying, that we're just going to be defensive dominating and offense will just kind of scrounge up a few ball plays. No, you still have to be really good on offense if you're going to win a lot of games and play for big prizes and so on and so forth. But I do think that the blueprint is there. The blueprint hasn't changed, by the way. This is not a new phenomenon. The blueprint has always been, when you're playing these explosive offenses, keep them off the field as much as possible. Well, that's easier said than done, because the only way you keep them off the field is if you produce first downs. And if you watch that Vanderbilt game, 12 out of 18 on third down, but it was always third and short or third and intermediate. So they made it so that Diego Pavia, more on him later, could make key plays in that game without asking too much of him. They were rarely looking at a 3rd and 10 or a 3rd and 15. That was not much of that game. So that blueprint is there, but no, do I think we're ever going to get back to like 92 Alabama type stuff? The moment Nick Saban hired Lane Kiffin to run his offense was the moment things changed for good. Like, that was a sign that, okay, yeah, everybody wants to be dominating on both sides of the ball, but you're not winning the way, for example, Alabama did it in 2009, as recently as in 2009. And Greg McElroy, who we've had on this show, love Greg. Greg was not a great passing quarterback, and Nick's teams early on were not, and they won games kind of old school. That doesn't add up a whole lot. The notable exception, before anybody's yelling at the screen and saying, what about last year's Michigan team? Yeah, I mean, Michigan is the notable exception. They did have a first-round quarterback. They did have NFL tight ends. They did have Blake Corum. They did, like, it's not as if they were inept on offense. They just played it more conservatively on offense, and they did it to perfection. But even that is kind of an exception of the rule, because they had a massive amount of talent on both sides of the ball, NFL players all over the place. And now this year, they're trying to do it with the same formula, but they can't throw a forward pass, and they're going to pay for it. I think that's it, right? That's all 5? All right.
That was a beautiful JC5.
That was a beautiful JC5. And as always, my morale has been boosted. I think the American public is in a better way. We'll try to continue those positive vibes when we come back with the Godfather of Soul, the boss, top performers from another great week in college football when we come back. Mike here for our friends at MG&A Wealth. It's never a bad time to have someone on your side for all your financial needs. You need a trustworthy partner who has a true understanding of your situation in order to help you with smart and practical solutions. Since 1984, MG&A Wealth has helped their clients manage not just their wealth, but their lives. Today, as a nationally recognized wealth management firm, their team of pros remains dedicated to serving your best interests with an emphasis on personal attention and customized solutions. MG&A Wealth has clients all across the country, and they all get results. Don't put it off any longer. Call our friends at MG&A Wealth at 954-289-9000. That's 954-289-9000. MGAwealth.com is the website. They do more than manage wealth. They help manage lives.
Listen up. This is for construction professionals, contractors, facility managers, or do-it-yourself homeowners. SitePro Rentals is ready to equip your upcoming project. We rent construction equipment for any size job. Boom and scissor lifts, telehandlers, skid steers, excavators, air compressors, generators, even small tools and equipment. SitePro has you covered. If you are ready for better equipment rental, call SitePro and rent from the local, friendly, easy to do business with equipment professionals. Call 972-RENT-NOW. That's 972-736-8669 to rent the newest equipment in the Atlanta market. Call 972-RENT-NOW or visit SiteProRentals.com.
We're passionate about making sure that the Nest and Wild mattress is the best it can be. Made well and made right. Right here in Tupelo, Mississippi. So how can we do all that? Work. Hard work. And that means something. The Nest and Wild mattress is a movement. It's a pride in where you come from and where you're going. So get comfortable, because this movement is just beginning.
All right, as we bring in the house band performing the Godfather of Soul, the boss, let's get into some things here. Top performers from the week of college football. It was a good day to be the boss for underdogs. Again, 5 of the top 11 teams in the AP poll winning outright on Saturday. Also the boss, the goalposts from Commodore Stadium. They took a nice journey. They hadn't been touched really for a while. They've just kind of stood there for many, many years, not in any jeopardy of being torn down by Commodore Nation. But they were not only torn down, they took a nice stroll down Broadway and a ceremonial dump off in the Cumberland River. Congratulations to the Vandy goalpost. You were the boss on Saturday. Diego Pavia was obviously the boss. Just a deep dive real quick on Diego. If you're wondering who could have had this kid, well, anybody. You could have had him out of high school. He got no D1 offers. He got some D2 offers. He decided instead to play JUCO ball, not because he didn't have the grades or anything like that. He just decided that would be a better avenue for him to eventually get to the FBS level. So he played. He was born in Albuquerque, New Mexico. They list him at 6 feet. He'll tell you he's actually a little more than 5'10". He played at New Mexico Military Institute. Put up some decent numbers there, but even then didn't get a whole lot of offers. He led the Broncos to the JUCO National Football Championship and then winds up at New Mexico State. Now, New Mexico State for many years has been considered the hardest job in FBS, if not the worst. And he goes there and he takes a program that did very, very little. And what does he do? He wins 10 games over there, takes them to a bowl game, MVP of the Quick Lane Bowl game. And then Clark Lee pulls a rabbit out of the hat, and this is where he is the boss for realizing, you know what, I need to mix things up. So what does he do? He calls the kill zone. Jerry Kill. He says, will you be my quote-unquote analyst, and will you bring over some of your folks there that know how to do that offense that like worked really well at Nevada and stuff, that whole pistol thing? Yeah, sure. I'll go ahead and make some phone calls. And that's what they did. They brought over guys that have a background in running, some would call it a gimmicky offense, call it whatever you want, to work for Colin Kaepernick, obviously. So he gets Jerry Kill, he gets Tim Beck, he gets quarterback coach Garrett Altman. They all come over there and they help turn around that offense, that an undersized offensive line creates holes, a lot of motion. You know, it's almost like the old high school veer, but in a shotgun formation. And Pavia's the guy that runs it to perfection. Did it at New Mexico State, did it at Vanderbilt, did it Saturday against the Crimson Tide. Flat out coaching. That's a boss move by Clark Lee. Jerry Kill, who we've talked about, has been the boss. Speaking of the boss, did we not pay the band? Hey, Godfather, come on now. Strike up a tune, anything over there. Going outside of Nashville, you saw what A&M did to Missouri. Absolutely dismantled that offense. Nick Scorton, A&M defensive end. I don't even need stats for this. He just changes the game. He is a backfield wrecker. And if you watch that game, they had no answers for him. So he's another guy that kind of, thank you, JB, another guy that flew under the radar and wasn't a he's not a five-star kid, right, JC? But out of the state of Texas, winds up going back to his home state, and now he's a terror.
He was very highly sought after out of the portal. Yeah, Texas. Jeff Brom, who we just talked about, went and found him. Just pretty good at finding players. And he went to Purdue and obviously transferred out. And A&M, don't look now. The Aggies are unbeaten in the SEC, 4-1. Notre Dame is a distant memory. They've got some games coming up, but that outburst on offense was important. But I still think this, Missouri's missing their D coordinator and missing a lot of their players that got drafted on D. This is not the same. This was my one concern for them.
This is something that, again, we talked about on this show in July. And it's certainly been the case this year, 100% right. By the way, Le'Veon Moss, I know outside of Genty of Boise State, not a lot of running backs get talked about anymore. It's such a passing game, and we just kind of look at, use a Nick Saban quote, we just crap out another five-star running back here and another five-star there. But Le'Veon Moss has been really good. Leads the SEC with 609 yards. Missouri had no answer for him. A&M is just gashing people in their running game. Awfully tough to stop. Will Rogers, good for Will Rogers. He was the boss for Washington in the upset over Michigan. For those that don't remember, Will Rogers was on pace to break just about every SEC passing record that was. The sad passing of Mike Leach, the defensive coordinator takes over, and he decides, now we're not going to keep that offense where Will Rogers and Mississippi State was putting up gaudy numbers. We're going to go ahead and play the kind of offense I want to play that'll make my defense look better. One of the stupidest moves I've ever seen an SEC coach do. So what does Will Rogers do? He gets the hell out of Starkville and winds up in Washington and led his Huskies to an upset win over Michigan. Good for Will Rogers. Ashton Genty, again, we've been on this guy for a long time now. Thanks in part to G5 John, by the way. But just to give you an idea, he only played the first half. Barry Sanders' offensive year, his Heisman Trophy year, back in, 88? That is the most impressive season I've ever seen a running back have. He also returned kicks, by the way. Back then, they didn't count bowl game stats. But through 5 games, when Sanders won that Heisman, he had 1,002 yards and 17 rushing touchdowns. Genty, through 5 games, 1,031 yards and 16 rushing touchdowns. And don't forget, before you poo-poo Boise State, they've already beaten Washington State. And he's played multiple Power 5 teams. and has been just as successful. So this is not a product of weaker competition.
He's an elite back.
I think he's the best running back in college football. I think he's going to be a first-round pick, and I think he's going to tear it up on Sundays. Like, he is that good. In a 41-24 road win against Northwestern, Curtis Rourke diced up the Wildcats to the tune of 380 yards and 3 touchdowns. Indiana is 6-0. Everybody knows about Cignetti. What do we know about Curtis Rourke? He's a transfer from Ohio. Got 14 touchdowns, 2 picks. The 6'5" Canadian Curtis Rourke. How many stars were next to him coming out of wherever it was, Alberta or something? Probably not many. Connor Wigman, just to go back real quick to A&M, 18 of 22 for 276 yards. Hit 10 different receivers in the win. He reminded people why Connor Wigman is still considered one of the better quarterbacks out there. I think
Looked fantastic.
He was really good. I know he had a bad game against Notre Dame, but for the most part, when he's healthy, good player. Hey, how about Louisiana Monroe? They're the boss. The proud alma mater of Tim Brando. Bryant Vinson pulling off a miraculous turnaround this season. The Warhawks have doubled their win total from last year after starting 4-1. They shocked JMU 21-19 in the Sun Belt clash. ULM has not reached bowl eligibility since 2018. And finally, Arkansas senior wide receiver Andrew Armstrong in the upset over Tennessee. 9 grabs, 132 yards. Congratulations to Andrew Armstrong. Congratulations to everybody that was part of the boss segment. You folks have earned your glory. Speaking of earning your glory, Sean at MG&A Wealth. For all your financial needs, one phone call away, 954-289-9000, MGAwealth.com. Salary-based advisors ensuring your best interests are the priority. Their employees invest in the same strategies that they recommend their clients. That's why they're all doing very good and have been since 1984. A time-tested approach, not a jack-in-the-box financial institution. Clients all over the United States. Again, 37 years of regulatory excellence. That's MG&A Wealth. Call Sean today, 954-289-9000. What are you looking forward to this week, JC? Because we've got some massive games. We've been talking about October 12th and October 19th as 2 landmark weekends for college football. This week alone, you look at some of the bigger games, and of course, highlighted by I just drew a blank.
I think Ohio State, Oregon.
Ohio State, Oregon. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Texas, Oklahoma is always a big game.
Texas is a 2-touchdown favorite in that game.
I'm not surprised. I mean, Oklahoma's got defense, but even in that win at Auburn, their offense was not. I mean, I don't know. Maybe they'll have a 20-minute advantage at time of possession, and we'll be like, oh, yeah, shouldn't count out the Sooners. Yeah. I do like their freshman quarterback, Hawkins. I think he's a little bit better suited for what they are right now up front. A guy that can kind of run out of trouble and things like that. LSU Ole Miss is interesting to me.
Like that one.
Rebels with a big win this weekend, got up off the mat, going to Baton Rouge at night. Anytime you can win down there at night, especially if you're Ole Miss, they've struggled through the years down there badly. LSU's looking for revenge. Nussmeier versus Jackson Dart. Shoot, sign me up. That's going to be a good one.
It's going to be a real good one.
Looking forward to that one
Penn
as well.
State at Southern Cal.
Yeah, I mean, the game's kind of lost its luster, though. Now, I'll say this. Sometimes, like, Penn State surprises me in good and bad ways all the time. Like, you think they're going to blow out Bowling Green, and they only win by 7. You think they're going to lose at West Virginia in the opener, and they blow them out. The Illinois game was a slugfest, and they come back and win big. That's a game, historically, James Franklin will go out there and they'll just lose. But I think they're much better than the Trojans, and I think I think we may, if Penn State's for real, this is a game they need to go win by a couple of touchdowns. It doesn't matter what the uniform looks like and where you're at. I mean, fundamentally, sometimes it does, but you got to go win the game. So.
Yeah, if we're going to take Penn State seriously as like a national championship contender, you cannot lose this game. And they'll feel the wrath of that fan base, James Franklin will, if they lose to a Southern Cal team that, again, has been disappointing and has lost 7 out of the last 12 games under Lincoln Riley. Just a reminder to everybody, we are on every platform imaginable: YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Spotify, iTunes, Google Play. The website still under construction, but still going strong, jcandmorgan.com. And what else? Anything else we need to tell the fine folks out there?
No, we covered it all. Chief Sports app. And like I said, we're going to get that the podcast version. Hopefully, we'll just bear with us. Like I said, under promise, over deliver.
That's right. And the delivery's been pretty strong here of late, no doubt about that. Thanks to everybody tuning in across this great land of ours. Thanks to our producer, the Mad Dog, Bill Molinax, behind the scenes. For JC, Mike, we say so long, we bid adieu, and we see you next week at our regularly scheduled time of Monday morning. So long, everybody.